Alrighty everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all having an amazing Wednesday, and as we get closer to the very end of this month, fans are beginning to anticipate the Ahsoka Tano series, which by the way is led mainly by Dave Filoni with the help of Jon Favreau. That's really going to steer things in a different direction for fans, given that a lot of it will be taken from Star Wars Legends and how that's going to be adapted into live action form. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, we know that Disney CEO Bob Iger has been shifting his focus with Star Wars in a different light, focusing away from Star Wars TV shows and more so on the upcoming movies, so to speak. And that's one thing to really take into account, is that Disney wants to bring Star Wars back to the theaters again on a regular basis. In fact, they are trying to create a strategy to release one Star Wars movie a year again, which is exactly why we are getting 3 movie announcements later this year at D23 that's going to center around the Old Republic era. And speaking about that subject in specifics, of course, what's really intriguing about all of that has a lot to do with what Disney and Lucasfilm are currently planning for the future of these Star Wars movies, exactly how they are going to go about doing it, who's involved, and exactly how it's going to flow within the Star Wars franchise itself. Now, we know that everything related to the Disney Star Wars universe right now has a lot of fans divided over what happened with Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, the sequel trilogy films, and the latest, The Mandalorian Season 3. When you take everything out, I think that the most successful projects were Andor, Mando Season 2, Rogue One, and around those lines, are, I believe, the most well-received projects among fans that have high reviews and really good reception. But I digress. Moving on to the next big thing here is that with Disney and Lucasfilm preparing to develop many new Star Wars shows and films, they are also gearing up to making some big decisions to draw back lost fans. Now, it's noted that one of the big Star Wars movies that are about to be announced at this year's D23 that will involve both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau as co-writers, with Matt Reeves aimed to be the main writer so far, is a full-fledged story focusing on Darth Bane, the Rule of Two, as well as the origin story and tales of Darth Revan and more. This is said to be the first Old Republic movie of the 3 that are currently in the early development phase. Disney is currently actually tracking down who the best director would be to handle this movie. However, actress Marion Cotillard is aimed to portray Darth Zana in this new tale, as well as Michael Fassbender, who has been approached to portray Darth Bane in the first film of the planned Old Republic trilogy. Now, of course, what's special about this project is that George Lucas has been given permission to make certain decisions over this trilogy and how it's going to be utilized in the general sense. Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second. Now, we've talked about this many times before in the past about how Disney is really turning their heads towards the Old Republic being the focus of the brand new era of Star Wars, right? We know that the New Jedi Order era is going to be pretty much done through the Rey movie. The New Republic era is going to be done by Dave Filoni. That's going to open the gateway to his own new Star Wars trilogy that will be treated as a new sequel trilogy in a sense, or a Mandalorian trilogy if you want to look at it that way, but it's not just going to focus on Din, it's going to focus on Luke, Ahsoka, Thrawn, and more. Then you got Dawn of the Jedi that takes place well before the Old Republic era. We are talking thousands upon thousands of years into ancient times, and that's something that's being handled by James Mangold, written and directed by him. He's constantly working away on that right now as we speak. And yeah, so I mean, we got a great lineup, but this one in particular, to start things off with the Old Republic trilogy, is a big deal. The fact that fans are going to be able to learn more about Darth Bane and Zana, the Rule of Two, and Darth Revan is going to be a game changer in my opinion, because of how this movie is being approached, how it's going to be respected and handled by John, Dave, and potentially Matt Reeves, because he has been approached to become the main writer. That's still up for negotiations right now. He's not signed on just yet, but he is in the talks to become the main writer. So there's going to be a total of 3 people attached, at least to the first Old Republic film, along with George Lucas actually having a lot of creative implement on top of that. Now, we know that everything related to this has a lot to do with Bob Iger. He is the guy that really made the call to really shift the focus from sticking to Star Wars shows and to go back to bringing Star Wars back in the theaters again. Something that I think is long overdue. We gotta remember that Kathleen Kennedy is the one that created the hiatus of Star Wars movies because she felt that fans were getting tired of Star Wars films. That was not the case. Fans were just getting tired of what was happening with the sequels. So, moving on. On top of this, actor Keanu Reeves, and we've talked about this before in the past, has been in the talks for these Old Republic films well over 2 years now, and since Reeves is a big Star Wars fan, it would be the right thing to pursue. Reeves is actually planned to portray Darth Vitiate in one of the Tales of the Old Republic movies. Each movie, of course, is going to bounce back and forth throughout time, and will also involve an open and crawl, like the other films. The general idea that Lucasfilm is aiming for is by combining the themes of Lord of the Rings with Star Wars to give it a dark and gritty tone for the hardcore fans. The films are said to have an uptick of violence in them as well to really give fans something special. Fassbender has yet to also have signed on for the role and has, of course, been geared up for the role of Bane and has a total of 4 months to decide if he wants to be locked into this project or not, as they are set to begin production by 2024, pre-production to be specific, around the same time that the Rey-centered movie begins pre-production as well. And about that Rey movie, by the way, guys, yes, pre-production does begin in early 2024. They're going to begin casting by this August, and we know that one of the leads dropped out of that film, which I don't know if that's concerning for this movie, who knows, but I know a lot of fans have been expressing that they're not quite excited about the Rey-centered film. Given that it is being created by Stephen Knight, he hasn't done a lot of big blockbuster movies out there, but he's done some stuff. We'll have to wait and see, you know, I mean, given that Kathleen Kennedy did openly say herself that she's not heavily involved in this, but it is something that was greenlit during her time at Lucasfilm. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that movie is going to really shape out to be and how it's going to be executed and everything around those lines. So that's the first major film for the first time in a long time since Rise of Skywalker. Now, I think that Bob Iger's on the right path. I mean, he wants to really bring Star Wars back to theaters. He wants to create Star Wars back to feeling more like an event. And look, I love the shows and all. I like the direction of these shows about how it's focusing on character development and it's really expanding the stories and everything related to it in that sense, but at the same exact time, I will be very honest, the shows don't really feel as much like an event when you're waiting for a Star Wars movie to come out in theaters. There's something special about that that's just a thrill, you know, waiting for it to come out, you know, learning about everything that's happening behind closed doors and, you know, what the production is looking like and all the back and forth scenarios. It's a fun ride, you know, and once the movie drops, then it comes out and you see the experience and then you move on from there to the next one. So I think that movies are more of an event than the shows ever will be, and I think that's why fans are looking forward to movies more. So anyways, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.